Coming up this weekend, kickboxing meets Muay Thai between a couple of guys that are young in their MMA careers, and another record that when you go on some sites is different than on others. We have the Black Jag, Carlos Ulberg, taking on Tafon Nchukwi. And Matt, I'm going to start it off with Carlos Ulberg because people are familiar with this guy by now. He's a city kickboxing staple. He's featured in all the promo material with Israel Adesanya, a little bit with Alexander Volkanovski, the Shane Youngs, and so on and so forth. But he's mainly known for the fact that he won the 2017 100 kg King of the Ring championships for kickboxing, and then he followed it up in 2019 at 92 kgs, winning the title over there. He's 4-1 on some sites. Other sites have him winning 2 fights in 2013, so he's 6-1 on our record tally. But if you look at it for Ulberg, he had a wild fight against Kennedy Nchukwi. He had a great first round, and then in the second round, he looked like he had run 2 marathons, and he wasn't able to get the win there. But his last time out, he took on Fabio Charant, who looked like he had better things to do and other places to be, and in that fight Carlos Ulberg beat him pillar to post every single round. So it was a showcase for Ulberg. In each round you had Mr. Fabio Charant throwing less than 15 total strikes, so it was a really weird performance. But have we learned anything more out of Ulberg that we didn't know? Because again, he's so young in his MMA career, out of the first 2 fights that he's had in the UFC to now.
These are the only opponents I want to see for each one of these fighters right now. I gotta be honest, I'm completely off Tafon's hype train. I don't think he's that good of a striker in MMA. I think there's huge holes in his game, and I think he doesn't have a well-rounded enough game. Now let's go to the other side. I think Carlos Ulberg relies on his left hook way too much and just stands way too high in the air with his hands down because he's used to striking with massive gloves on his hand. That's what I think about this fight.
Well, that's kind of where I'm at. You didn't steal my thunder, you just proved my point. That is it. If you look at the way that Carlos Ulberg strikes, when he throws in combination, it's something to behold.
It's like, you know those tornadoes that take out everything? Like videos where it's like, oh, what a nice house with like a farm next to it. And that Wizard of Oz tornado comes through. That's Carlos Ulberg when everything's going right. He's hitting you from both sides. He's being able to flow his combinations together. The problem is, the second that tornado runs out of steam and you just kind of see like 2 things of corn kind of fly through the field now, it's not a big devastating
just the dust
force.
devil.
That's all it becomes. Like Carlos Ulberg, the second he becomes tired, becomes like a 15% version of himself. We talk about this all the time. Like, Josh Emmett was exhausted in round 4 and 5 against Calvin Kattar. And hey, he probably lost both those rounds. But guess what? He still fought in an intelligent manner, and he still fought like Josh Emmett. Carlos Ulberg, if he was in that same situation against a guy like Calvin Kattar, he's probably just looking for a way out at that point. Like, I just don't think Carlos Ulberg is willing to go through the stuff that a lot of other MMA fighters are willing to go through before they end up losing. And I know he went out on his shield against Kennedy in that fight, but he was so tired he could barely hold his hands up at that point. I'd say Carlos Ulberg, can he have flashy fights in the UFC? Yes, he can. But his style is very much kickboxing related, and that's why I just think he's always going to struggle at this level, because he does have that weird kickboxing defense of, I know you're going to take me down to a certain point, so I am going to be a little tense, and that's never a great thing to have in MMA. That's why Izzy is so much better than every other kickboxer who comes over. You see his range of motion, you look at the way he can move around, and you think, hey, that guy's a professional athlete. Carlos Ulberg, when he's throwing punches, you think he moves that way, but then you look at the way he walks around the cage. Does he have the footwork of an elite MMA fighter? Not at all. He kind of just has flat feet and stomps around a lot. What version of this fight are we going to get in the second and third round? Because neither guy's really known for their cardio.
Both guys match up well in terms of the fact that they're strikers by trade. I say Muay Thai for Tafon Nchukwi, but you look at it and Matt doesn't like it. But 2016 and 17 WKA national champion, 2016 world champion. He's a champ over with IBJJF. He's a pan champ over there, blue belt in jiu-jitsu. So there is a basis of being well-rounded. 1-0 as a Muay Thai fighter in his lone stop there in 2019. But when I look at Ulberg, he's the type of guy that throws so well in combination from either stance. And the craziest part is, lead leg kicks are wild. The hip flexibility for a big guy to get up that high, especially against a guy like Nchukwi, to touch his ear with his leg.
He's like 6'6".
It's absolutely insane. But again, the trouble that I have is, what does Ulberg do when he needs to play on the defense? Well, he doesn't bring his hands up. He plays the pullback game. And when you pull back with your head on the center line, especially in MMA, with your hands down, somebody can fake up high, go down low, take you down. There's so many different things you can worry about. Or you become Luke Rockhold and you get sent to the Shadow Realm. Now,
even Darren Till against Jorge Masvidal was the example I was thinking of, because Darren Till loves to pull back. Masvidal switches stances, so he's basically throwing a power shot from his lead side now, and all of a sudden the power shot's coming from a lot closer than you thought it was, and you're getting clipped on the chin and getting knocked out.
To me, watching an Ulberg fight, it's kind of like a Crystal Pepsi. You know, we're here for a good time. It might not be the best sody pop that's out there, but you're going to enjoy it.
Wait, so aesthetically pleasing, but ultimately disappointing?
I like a Crystal Pepsi. I really do. And when they come out, I have to get one.
Wow.
But I do focus on this when I watch Tafon Nchukwi and when I break this fight down. Can Carlos Ulberg have success? 110%. For Nchukwi, the highs have been high in the UFC. The lows have been really low. His last fight against Azamat Murzakanov, close enough, I guess, through the first 2 rounds. And then the 3rd round late, he eats the flying knee and he gets finished. I go to the fight against Jin Park. He gets dominated pillar to post. You know, it's not a good look. He gets taken down. I focus on the fight he has against Jamie Pickett. It's all volume. He's able to mix it up. The fight he has against Slow Mike Rodriguez, he mixes it up. When it comes down to my overall pick for this fight, though, is Slow Mike the best fighter? He got a win last weekend.
Where, though?
Slow Mike is 6'4", as is Carlos Ulberg. Slow Mike has an 82.5-inch reach. Ulberg is 77. Slow Mike's not the striker that Carlos Ulberg is, but Tafon Nchukwi is a very short and, you know, muscle-bound 205er. Could he fight at middleweight? I thought he would. He has in the UFC, but it looks like 205 is the play. What does Tafon do incredibly well when it comes down to his fight style? Close the distance, clinch up, throw elbows, knees, and uppercuts in the clinch.
I don't think those things are going to matter, though. I agree with you, that's his best play, but here's the thing. I know we talk about reach and how it's not a positive or a negative, it is just a stat. With world-class strikers, though, it is a positive. Like, Carlos Ulberg is one of the few fighters who can weaponize his reach and work behind it. Now, once he gets tired, you worry about those floodgates, and maybe he will go into some bad habits, if you will, and get back into the cage. But for as long as Carlos Ulberg has any gas in his tank, I really do think he's going to be the superior striker on the outside in this matchup. The only thing I worry about is that Tafon can go for takedowns. He'll shoot for double legs. He can get kind of caught in those in-betweens where he's shooting for the hips, and they just sort of defend him up against the cage, and that's it. So I think Carlos Ulberg, since he's not facing a natural wrestler, since he's facing a guy who will take him down, but doesn't necessarily have the technique of an upper echelon striker, or wrestler, I do think this fight does favor Carlos Ulberg for those reasons.
So Nchukwi opened a plus 120, plus 105, or thereabouts. We have a look at Ulberg, open to minus 140, minus 125. We have a look at the Topology votes. Price test there to you. I'm going to say over under 75% Ulberg.
I'll say under.
I'm going to say under, slightly under. So 523 total votes, 69% Ulberg, 59% by decision, 35-ish% by knockout. For the 31% that I have Nchukwi, a slim margin, 44% by decision, 53% by knockout. I think we had a knockout in this fight.
So do I. This should be a fun fight for as long as it lasts. I know I haven't hyped it up as the most technical MMA contest of all time, but you have 2 pure strikers who are not afraid to eat a shot, to give a shot, and that normally results in a really fun fight. I just think Carlos Ulberg technically is this slightly superior fighter. I'll be interested to see if Tafon can get this into like an elbow and knee range, because maybe that'll give the fight a different wrinkle that I wasn't expecting, but I do expect a lot of open cage striking, and if that is the case, I do favor Ulberg.
To me, I like Nchukwi on the in-betweens. We saw that against William Knight. That was the way that he was able to win that fight. We saw it against Slow Mike Rodriguez. He won in those positions. And for Carlos Ulberg, again, this guy, if Crystal Pepsi's your jam, you're all about a Carlos Ulberg fight. But Matt, we're split on the pick. You're going with Blackjack, Ulberg. I've got the Don and Nchukwi. Should be a great fight at 205 pounds while it lasts, because if not, and if it lasts too long, it's going to be awful. And we have some big time fights left on this card. Neil Magny taking on Shavkat Rakhmonov, and in that main event, holy smokes, Arman Tsarukyan, Mateusz Gamrot. You're going to want to keep it locked in with Fight Night picks, we always say.
Let's get into it.